Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Reading the Red, this wonderful Sunday morning. And it's going to be a scorcher. Mark chapter 2, and we're looking at 25. And he said to them, Jesus, have you never read what David did when he was in need, and he and his companions became hungry? And he's beginning to answer a question that's been provoked within the Pharisees with regards to the law of the Sabbath. The guys were walking through the fields and the disciples were taking the grain and picking it and eating it on a Sabbath day, which was unlawful. It was clear in the book of Leviticus that the demonstration of breaking the Sabbath law was not a good thing to do. So the Pharisees were only upholding the historic values of what the Sabbath represented. And yet in Jesus' response to the Pharisees who are asking this question, he begins to identify with an experience that King David had when he was in the temple. And this sense of what did David do when David was in the same sort of predicament? Have you never read? Well, of course they'd read what David did when he was in need and his companions became hungry. So he's building up this theme of what David did. And David is highly valued in the hearts of the Jews. And so when Jesus gives David as an example, he's pressing into the very essence of who they are. But the bigger question behind this is, Jesus is saying, is it okay to break the Sabbath law? Hey, is it okay to break any law? And he's building up his answer, and we get the completion of that answer tomorrow. But the backdrop of this is it right to break God's laws? Is it wrong to do what God said we shouldn't do? Now, there is a whole history now regarding the church and how the church has managed the issues regarding Christians who break, as it were, the laws of God. We've dealt with all sorts of issues over the years. Maybe one of the biggest one is, should a divorced Christian marry again? Is it possible? Is it right? Are they breaching the laws? And in the New Testament, there are many things that are done and affirmed as right before God that the church has tried to manage as it relates to dealing with the problem of breach in regards to the law. But how do we approach this whole package of dealing with the people who go wrong, who let God down, who do what God has said shouldn't be done? How are we going to evaluate them? What are we going to do to manage those who choose to sin, even though they know that it's against God's will? And there is a nature inside of every single one of us that is always pressing towards doing what God has said not to do. So how are we supposed to respond to this? How is Jesus going to deal with this issue regarding the question, is it acceptable to break the Sabbath law? Well, we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out. God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.